Hi everybody, we're going to learn how to build a deck. Come on. Okay, it's time to figure out what level we want to cut our posts at. So what I'm going to do is figure out what the final level of my deck is, and then I'm going to measure down from that to past the decking boards, past the joists, past the girders underneath the joists, and then that is my final deck level. All right. Okay, so looking for the depth of my deck, we know the decking boards, it's called a 5/4 board, but in reality, they're about 1 inch thick, maybe 1 1/16 inch. And then we are using, for the joists that are going to be running this way, we are using 2x8s, which 2x8s on the larger side have a tendency to be 7 3/8. And then for my girders, which will run this way, which support everything, they will be 2x8s as well. So on the larger side, 7 3/8. So that's 14 3/4 if we put both of those together. Plus the decking board on top is 15 3/4. So what we're looking for is to make a mark 15 3/4 inches from the top of this, because that's where the customer wants this deck to end. So I'm going to come right next to this post so I can level and get over to this post. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make a mark at 15 3/4. And then I'm going to come over here. And I could set my laser level to the mark on the brick. But I'm not going to, because the brick has this little lip right here. And I'd have to worry about whether or not I got an accurate mark, and I do want that laser level mark to be accurate. I want it to be perfect. So that's what we're gonna make sure we have a perfect laser level. I don't need my stick to be that big. All right, so now we know the whole deck is level. It's all been lasered. We're good. You might be wondering why I only put one mark, or why I put a mark on one side of the post, because you would expect me to cut those posts with a 7 1/4 inch saw blade. No, that's for if you care about safety. I have this. It's a 10 1/4 inch, which means I can go straight through one of these in one shot. If I don't have this, I will do the 7 1/4 from 2 different sides. But I generally don't like the unevenness that comes from this. This is a Hoss, it's a Makita, but it'll make the cut. Not safe, but it'll make the cut in one swipe. All right, we're all cut. Now we're ready to put these post caps on there. These are going to slip on. All my girders are going to go this way. So it's going to slip on like that, screw it in, and my girders are going to sit right on top of that. Everything on a deck is wood on top of wood, not nailed into the side for the most part. This particular deck, I'm extending this out as a pergola. So these places where I don't have posts, I just have concrete footings, and I'll be putting big 8x8 posts in. Those will actually be supported on the sides. But other than that, it's these. Now you want to make sure when you buy these, there's 2 types of these and they look exactly the same. One is a 4x, which is what this is, to a 4x. So if you're putting a 4x across there, it'd be 4x and 4x. These are 4x on the bottom and then 2 2x's on top. It's a 1/2 inch difference. It makes all the difference in the world. So just make sure you get 2x to 4x when you're buying these, because I'll have 2 2x8s side by side nailed together going in as girders. All right, we are at that point in this deck where it's time to start putting down the girders. All we're going to be doing is doubling up these 2x8s, putting a bunch of nails in them and laying them across these boards this way. And then, so there's not much to this particular step other than just making sure that both boards are pushed all the way to the bottom of the bracket. I also generally angle the screws upwards as I'm screwing into the bracket and downward as I'm screwing into the post. This pulls everything tight. After both boards are pushed all the way to the bottom of the bracket, you need to go ahead and put one nail every 6 inches, one near the top of the board, one near the bottom of the board, and alternate top to bottom every 6 inches from one end of the girder to the other. If the two girder boards are vastly different sizes, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just go with the fatter board and recognize that the smaller board is adding to the structural integrity of the larger board, but the deck will always be sitting on the larger board. Here's another example of girders on a deck. In this case, the girders had to be built on the outside of the post, which I generally don't do, but in this case there's a structure up top and it's a pole barn style structure. So this post had to continue up past the structure of the deck so I could build a thing up there. In this case, we used 1/2 inch bolts, 2 1/2 inch bolts that go through, they clamp down. And when I'm placing these girders, generally what I'll do is I'll set the outside joists and I'll bump the girders up to them, nail them in, and then go ahead and run those bolts through. So I do it in a little bit of a different order than on the main deck in this video.